Welcome to the Rebel Matriarch Podcast. My name is Samantha Sanford and I am your host, and I want to invite you into this session with an open heart and an open mind, because this is not just a podcast. It is a global movement, a global uprising, and this is a representation of what is truly possible and available to women today. Hello, gorgeous humans, and welcome to this episode of the Rebel Matriarch Podcast. My name is Samantha Sanford, and I am your host, and I am really riveted with this brilliant woman that is coming into our session today. Libby is watch me get this wrong, ladies. I've already told her I'm going to get it wrong. A holistic wellness guide. You know, when you put that pressure on yourself and you're like, oh God, I'm going to get this wrong, and then you get it wrong. She is a holistic wellness guide. And I loved that. I wanted to make sure I used her exact words, because the work that she brings to women, the work that she brings to mothers is so soul fueled, and it's so soul led, and it's deep, and it's nourishing. And it's exactly what women need when we are currently existing in a world where the medical system and the way that we address women's health and women's care is really unhealthy and really toxic to a lot of women. And so I am so grateful and so blessed to have Libby on this call to talk more about her magic and her medicine and to hear her story. So Libby, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Samantha, thank you so much for that introduction. It felt so good to hear you reflect back to me how needed and how important and how transformative my work has the potential to be for women in this world. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, and I'm pleased to be here.
I love it. And I have so many questions. I want to talk about how you support women with your beautiful practices. And you mentioned something that fascinates me. And so any woman who is interested in or loves human design, we have to talk about how you're bringing in the near future, human design in pregnancy. So as someone who loves human design and someone who has been pregnant twice with the potential of another one. So I'm like, oh, how do I bring this into another one? I'm really excited to hear more about human design in pregnancy and how you're going to be integrating it into your services. But before we go into that, can you share a little bit about what it is that you do currently and how you support women?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk more human design pregnancy.
Yes.
So, I'm a holistic wellness guide, and I know that that might sound very general to listeners. And that's because the work that I do with women is so comprehensive and so deep. And you know already, and probably your listeners already know how when you do this kind of deep work, it can be complicated, but it also is it just makes it richer, right? And so I like to simplify things. That is one of the things that I usually work on with my clients, is like bringing them back to their center and starting with the strength, just the simple strength and the simple wisdom that they already have within them, and then go deeper and connect all of those pieces of themselves. And my business is Modern Homemaker. I don't think we shared that yet with
No,
listeners.
yeah, go
Yeah,
for it.
but
Yep.
Modern Homemaker is all about making a home for your soul, no matter who you are. So when you think about it, a homemaker, that's a neutral label, right? Anybody can be a homemaker. You don't have to be a woman. You don't have to be a mom. You don't have to be young or old, or, it doesn't matter. Everybody, you get that opportunity every day with every breath that you take to make a home for your soul. And so that is the Make Your Soul at Home movement that I am here to share with the world through Modern Homemaker. And so I do mainly work with women, but I have had male clients and, gender fluid clients. And so it's really just about making a home for your soul and coming back using the practices like human design, like seasonal living. That's another big part of my work with women, especially, but for everyone, like tapping into those seasons that are available for you outside yourself with Mother Earth, and then also inside yourself too.
I love that. When you say seasonal living outside yourself and inside yourself, what does that mean?
Yeah. So, first of all, outside ourselves, realizing that we are a part of creation. We are literally a part of this living, breathing planet that we're on. And when we live out of sync with that, it just makes things harder. So, even if you live in an environment or a part of the world that doesn't experience four seasons, there's still phases and seasons that your environment goes through. So it's really about tuning in, being present with those natural rhythms that are already around you for you to tap into that and to see Mother Nature, Mother Earth as an example of having grace through change and being open to change and being able to trust that things are always changing when you feel stuck, like things are always changing is something that I always remind people is just like the seed, there's always something happening under the soil, right? Even if you can't see it, there's something happening with the seed. So trusting that universal truth that there's always something happening and changing. And then at the same time, like not forcing things in your life too. Like there's a season for everything in within Mother Nature, and that cyclical process of growth, death, and rebirth is essential. That expansion and contraction. It's again that duality of expansion and contraction. It's a universal law, and everything also all of those things that are reflected outside of us also ring true for us inside ourselves too, with our own personal journey, our lives, our daily lives, so moment by moment and year by year. And then also our own the natural rhythm that you have within yourself through your human design. So your design, depending on your definition, your energy type, your sacral definition, whether or not you're emotionally defined, like there's all these rhythms, these natural ways of being that, like I said, become strength or wisdom for you that again are already there. You just have to be intentional about being present and accepting those natural rhythms in yourself so that it can bring you ease when you flow with that instead of trying to force yourself and making things harder for yourself.
I love this so much because it is part of our conditioning in society and as women to be so disconnected from ourselves in order to
Mhm.
survive, right? In order to function, in order to be a part of society, we have to disconnect from everything that you've just shared. And we have to function in a system designed by the patriarchy to support the patriarchy. And so when you speak about seasons and, birth, death, rebirth, and internal and external, it all sounds magical because it feels so outside of us because we don't, this isn't modeled to us. We're not taught this. In fact, we're steered away from this. And so what I love is that you're bringing this medicine, this potent medicine that women need. We desperately need to embody, like as women, we need to get out of our heads and actually embody and come home to ourselves and connect with ourselves and go through these processes that you're sharing with women. And I'm curious to know when women come to work with you, is there like a noticeable shift or difference from who they were before they started working with you and then once they've completed working with you, how they like, are they any different, or have they had a perspective shift, or what are some noticeable differences you notice when women actually do this work?
Yeah, I love that question. I actually just shared on social media some of my previous transformation stories with clients in my signature program, Nurture by Nature. And yeah, there's a few things that stand out to me that usually happen for all of my clients, especially in that program, but even just with clients that I lead through human design readings. The first one is acceptance and validation in who they already are. Like just like just having someone mirror back to you what you already feel in your bones about yourself is so can feel so good, right? Like most people, especially people that come to me who are already interested in human design, like maybe they know their energy type already and their strategy. It's like they already knew that about themselves. It's just they didn't have the language that human design gives to be able to communicate, like, yeah, I do have that gut response. Or oh my gosh, I do have those emotional waves that I have to ride out in order to come to this calmer place for me to make the most correct decision for myself. um or like, oh my gosh, like my mind, like I don't need to be inspired, and they have a defined head in ajna, so they're like, I don't need to like listen to podcasts or anything. Like I'm good. I What I need is that quiet space to really just tap into my own mental processes and thinking and dreaming so that I can just conceptualize and communicate what I'm already coming up with on my own. So yeah, like just having that mirror and that validation in who they already are and who they already know it, but they just need that person to reflect it back to them and give them that permission. So the permission slip is big. And that seems like a simple thing, right? Like, well, like you can give yourself your own permission slip, but there's something, like you said, magical about having that connection through another person, through somebody who can guide you, like me. I'm a projector, by the way, so that is one of my gifts, is seeing so deeply into you and seeing the truth and who you are and what your pure needs are and your pure desires. And that leads me into another thing that I see so much in people is having confidence, more confidence in what they already want and what they already need. And again, having that permission slip with growing that confidence, that gives them that permission slip to set more boundaries and to ask for what they want and to not feel like they have to please other people. They can really let go of some of that guilt, like especially for moms, we have that mom guilt, right? And I'm sure we'll talk more about this, but that mom guilt, that comparison, like that's huge, like letting go of the comparison, and just being able to focus on you and trusting your own strength and wisdom, and then everything else just opens up from there. So yeah, those are two big areas that I see: the validation and reflection, and the confidence, and being able to let go of that comparison and just be centered in themselves.
I love this so much because, gosh, it's amazing how much we don't trust ourselves because, again, we've been conditioned not to trust ourselves. And so, as soon as you were saying you reflect back to women, like they're not crazy. Like the amount of times we have the conversation in our head of like, oh, I can't say that out loud, or no, I'm making that up. That can't be real. And it's like we invalidate our own experience because it, like, in quotes, looks crazy, or it's not normal, or it's not part of like the perfect image that we're presenting. But then when someone actually speaks it, the relief that I imagine women would feel, like, oh, you mean I'm not crazy? You mean this is normal? You mean like it's safe to be me? And it's like, yes, it is. And
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, isn't that amazing? And
Yeah.
then when that lands for them, that next part that you talked about, the permission slip, or the not comparing yourselves, and like actually opening up to tapping into your desires, and like asking for what you want, like it makes sense that it goes from one to the other, like once we feel safe in our bodies and safe in who we are. So I love that you gave those examples, and you've got these really
Yeah.
amazing tools and practices to bring it together. And I'm curious to know, because what led you to be this version of yourself, right? To dive into human design, to really understand the intricacies of being embodied as a woman, right? Because most women don't realize they're disconnected from themselves. And so you're doing really profound work, right? You're revolutionizing womanhood. You're revolutionizing the paradigm of being a woman. And so I'm really interested to know how you came to be what it is what you're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, great question. So I actually, as a child, I always had a spiritual connection, like with with God, the universe, Mother Nature. I always considered myself a fairy queen. I really identify with the fairy energy, and that's something that is always reflected back to me too from people that I connect with. Um, but so, like growing up, like a lot of us do, especially women, that make believe, that make quote unquote make believe world, that connection with Mother Earth, that intuitive, dreamy side of us, that divine feminine side of us is nurtured when we are young, right? And then you all of a sudden are an adult, and it's like you have to put away all of that childish, again, quote unquote, childish behavior and be a woman. And as you referred to earlier, we are not taught to connect with ourselves that way as in womanhood. And, most of us are not even taught how to understand our menstrual cycle and how that even works. Like there's so many women that don't even know how they ovulate and how they menstruate, like their menstrual cycle. And so it's like this disconnection, again, as you said, like this disconnection from that power in us. And that what happened for me, and I know happens for a lot of women as adults, is then you go into um that world where you are you're conditioned to look outside of yourself for um for energy. You know, drink more coffee, shop more, get your nails done, like buy the
Yeah.
new bag, like all of these like surface level things that are supposed to be self-care and are supposed to be like what's important. And again, that's where that comparison comes in too. Like, am I doing it right? Like all of these things outside of yourself that you're trying to achieve in order to know if you're doing it right or not as an adult, as a woman in this modern society that we are still under. And I fell right into that. And and being a projector, there was a lot of exhaustion and burnout, like in my early 20s, moving through college. My education is in interior design. So I went from interior design to human design. But
I love that.
uh and that's like a pretty interior design is a pretty um, I wouldn't say cutthroat, but competitive career, right? And it's all about aesthetics but even whenever I was in that career, I always approached design like a scientific art. There was always still this intuitive, holistic perspective that I brought to my work in that field. And I really loved working with clients one on one there. And the practical, again, the scientific part of it really, I enjoyed that part. And that came naturally to me, being able to weave both sides of the science and the art. And that is what I love about human design as well. So, anyways, I moved through my early 20s and then I actually never thought I wanted to have kids. And my husband and I both were like not interested in having kids right away. I was never, even though I had like that very divine feminine connection, like even as a child, I was never like this motherly connection. I was never the one that wanted to play house or play with baby dolls or things like that. So I just let that desire for children to come really naturally for me. We didn't rush. And then all of a sudden, when I turned, after we got married, my husband and I have been together for a long time, since 2004. So 21 years. We got married we just celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary actually this year. But after we got married, then we bought our first house, and then I started thinking about what our house would look like through a child's eyes. And like, I really started thinking about my own childhood, and I really just felt this desire, not for a baby per se, but to have a child and to see them grow and to help guide them through that journey of life and to see them grow up and to see the world through their eyes. And so we started trying, and it was very difficult. We had a almost 2 year journey of trying to conceive, and we did use some fertility medication for that. And so I took really good care of myself physically to get pregnant and then through the pregnancy too. And there were a little bit of like complications that we had to have extra monitoring for him. I have two sons, by the way. And so I was really connected to my body, like physically, but right as soon as I went through the birth, my birth was very difficult. It was very fast, but because it was so fast, I had a lot of pain. And I moved right into, like, if you are familiar with the birth process, my contractions were right after my water broke. I moved right into transition type contractions. And so it was like very traumatic. It was a very traumatic experience because of the pain level that I was experiencing, and being a first time mom, they were like not wanting to give me. I had a hospital birth, and they were afraid to give me any pain medication because they didn't want to slow my progression of labor. And so that's a whole other. I'm a trained doula now, and that's a whole other conversation. That's part of why I wanted to pursue training as a birth doula and a postpartum doula, because through that first birth journey, I saw how neglected women are in, like, personally, like there's no personalization in hospital births. And that's not like I don't that's not an intentional thing. Like, I don't think that providers in the Western medical world, it's not that they don't, they don't want to treat everybody the same, but it's just the way the system is set up, it becomes that just cookie cutter process, and it's so clinical, and the providers are not there to think about the woman's or the mother's mental and emotional health. They're just there for that physical health, for them and for the baby, and so, or babies. And so that is where I really, moving through that first birth experience for me, that is really where my passion for personalized care through pregnancy and birth and postpartum came to be, and why I chose to be professionally trained as a doula, because it's so important for that personalized holistic care is so important for the well-being of the mom, the family, the intended family, like for surrogate moms, like whoever it is that is involved in that process. It's just so important to have that personalization on a holistic level. Um, and I know, like, you haven't shared with me your birth stories, but I invite you, if you want to add anything to this conversation, part of the conversation, please do.
Do I? Wow. I love that you're speaking to this because it's something that I'm really passionate about, because I had two very traumatic pregnancies and birthing experiences, and I had very traumatic experiences in the hospital system with the care that was provided and how it was provided. And so when you're speaking to, they're there to follow systems, but they're there for the physical, but they're not there for the emotional and the mental. I really felt that. And I feel like a lot of women, and I'm talking like generationally, like I'm talking our mothers, I'm talking our grandmothers, when they started to really institutionalize birth, and it was like protocol that you would just naturally and normally go to the hospital to give birth. So we're going back grandmothers, right? From there, we have generations of women walking around feeling like their birth experience was normal, their birth experience was healthy. And while some women have had really positive experiences, which I love, I know more women have experienced a disconnect. They've experienced the trauma, or they've experienced how, like, it's just like a mechanism, like the real value and the real, like, what women are actually capable of doing in creating a human and then birthing a human. I feel like that has been desensitized because it's become medicalized. And I love that you're speaking to this. I love that you've brought in, like, you've committed to becoming a birth doula and a postpartum doula, and you're speaking to reconnecting women to themselves, because we have our grandmothers walking around thinking that their hospital birth experience was normal. And it's like, no, it would have been very hands-on. It would have been not woman-centered. It would not have been you guiding the process. It would have been them telling you how to birth, and then interfering and causing complications. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many layers. It's so stacked and so leveled. And so for you to come in and speak about this, I'm so passionate about it. I could go on and on. But I love what you're bringing. I love the medicine that you're bringing. And I love that this has been a part of your journey, because the women that you help are then able to create that ripple effect of healing and change for their mothers and grandmothers. So I have very interesting conversations with my mother, my aunties, my grandmothers, like the older generations. They were dumbfounded by my pregnancy and birthing experience, because they're like, huh? What do you mean you want a home birth? Huh? Like, but what about all the fear? What about this? What if things go wrong? And like, it was just not even part of their comprehension. So I love having these conversations, and that I could talk about it forever, but I feel like that would have to be its own podcast. I just really
Yeah.
wanted to like emphasize how important the work is that you're doing, and I'm so grateful. And I would love to know, how it developed further, because now you're helping women on an even bigger scale.
Mhm.
But we started here with birth doula, and through your own trauma. Well, would you say it was traumatic for you at the time?
What Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so after that first of all, I want to, before we go forward, thank you for sharing your experience. And yeah, I agree. I think that could be a whole other podcast episode, right? Just talking about the birth industry and all the all the mechanics and the vision that you probably have and that I have, and so many
We'll
other
bring a part
guides
two,
in this
hey?
space. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like I said, I had that really strong connection with myself physically. And then all of the blinders just came off in postpartum with my mental and emotional health, because I was not prepared. And I think that's why so many women go through postpartum depression at all levels, because I really do believe that every single birthing mother or woman or birthing person has some degree of postpartum illness or postpartum depression, whether that is for a couple days or months or years, and on varying degrees, because it's just the mechanics of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And that's part of my work that I want to share with the world through human design pregnancy is the mechanics of that, of what actually happens during pregnancy and birth and postpartum, and how to bring that design knowledge into that so that it can open up and, like you alluded to, like help make that beautiful natural process for women be more magical, be actually this journey of fulfillment, and not of just, well, this is what happens and now I'm just, I'm just surviving. I'm just a mom zombie now, or, like it's not actually, it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's what I have, a specific program journey actually for that. It's called Crown of Light. And the whole idea of Crown of Light is helping equip you as a birthing person to shed light on all that's, again, that strength and wisdom in yourself, and carry that for yourself as a crown of light, as your own crown of light, so that you can light your way through that pregnancy, birth, and postpartum journey, and have that fulfilling, that magical experience. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't come with sadness and depression and some chaos and all of those, the other side of the duality of birth, right? But it just means that you are equipped, and you have that confidence, that permission slip to be who you are through that, so that you can have this authentic, satisfying, fulfilling experience, and not feeling disconnected from it, feeling connected to it and not disconnected from it. And because of that, I didn't get that opportunity. Like I said, in postpartum, it was like, oh my gosh, like, and if anything, it really set me up. I talk about this some before, like, not in this conversation, but other conversations that I've had, because I had so many blind spots, like, holistically for myself. I almost, like, set my expectations so high. Like, oh, I feel like so connected because of my design, and now having human design pregnancy, like, knowing how I was being conditioned, I felt so good. I felt so connected to myself and to my baby in pregnancy, that I was like, oh, when my baby's born, it's going to be like even better. And then it was the opposite of that, because it was a completely different relationship once my son was born. He wasn't the way that I felt was when I was still pregnant with him. Like, he had his own personality and his own energy, and it was almost like I do feel that there is, with every birth, there is a death, because there's this death of that quantum of energy that takes place when your baby's in your womb, and there's a death in that relationship. And so you have to understand and be prepared for that relationship to change, and to have the support and the tools and the mindset to be able to move through that. Maybe not like completely confidently, but in a way that you feel you trust in that, and you can move through it and not feel like you're just looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, or that you're completely, like, you can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're just in a dark tunnel. Um, just, again, like, being able to have that crown of light for yourself that can illuminate your journey, and you not feel stuck in it or feel disconnected from yourself, giving you that education, that knowledge, but also the practical parts, and the holistic, again, mental, emotional, spiritual tools for yourself to be able to do that for yourself and with your family too, because everything that we do as moms just has compounding benefits for everyone around us. And being a projector, like, I something that I really struggled with was asking for my physical needs because, again, I was so energized in pregnancy and I was so grateful to be pregnant after my infertility journey. And then for that to be completely, I have two manifesting generator sons and my partner's a manifesting generator too. So it was like, oh my gosh, the energy just with any birth, the energy is just immediately denser because it's a new life. It's a new design there all on its own. But then to be a projector and then to have all of that manifesting generator energy around you, it's so overwhelming. And it's like the comparison just immediately kicks in and the guilt. And it's like, and I had problems with breastfeeding and like, it's like I just felt so overwhelmed. It's like you don't even know where to even ask for help. And when you do ask for help and support, it's like, well, why do you need that? Like, can't you just do it or just give them a bottle or, it's like people, but when your partner, when your family, when the people around you, or when you have a mentor or a guide or a doula that knows who you are at an energetic level, they can help reflect that back to you and help remind you and help be that go-between person, that neutral person that can help you manage those relationship differences and help you harmonize that, just the different dynamics in your family after you have a new child or you add a child to your family, right? Yeah, I feel like I need to take a breath there.
That was amazing. It's amazing because so many mothers have all of a sudden they've got this baby, whether it's their first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, but they've got this baby. And no, I think it's more so like your first and your second. 'Cause I think I have a feeling once a third comes along, you have a really good understanding. But like that first and second baby, there's this expectation of like you know what to do and you just figure it out. And but like no one models any of these things to us. No one models what it actually feels like, right? We're not supposed to feel sad, stressed, um, overwhelmed, freaked out. Like we're allowed to have elements of it, but like we're not allowed to have a complete freak out or a complete breakdown around, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I can't get this baby on the breast. Like she needs to eat. Like what do I do? Like there's just this like, you're her mother, figure it out. Like you'll figure it out. And it's like, well, no, like can someone like help me get out of my head? And like help me make sense of what's going on. I'm full of hormones. I can't, I have emotions. I don't know how to articulate. I need help. I don't know how to ask for help. I feel guilty for asking for help. So I love that you're bringing this conversation into the motherhood piece because I feel like so many women have gone through, the initial stages of their babies being born and they just think it's normal. Like they just think it's normal that we're so disconnected, we're so scattered, we're so overwhelmed. And it's like, well, no, it's no. That's not normal. It's just like the societal expectation of what's expected of a
Yeah.
mother. But what you're saying is there's so much more to the conversation, and what you're offering women is this amazing opportunity to have a different experience once their baby is born. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's like as mothers, we are settling and we don't even realize it,
don't even
right?
know.
Like
Yeah.
we're settling for this paradigm that's not even, it's not like it's a firm thing. Like, yeah,
Why are we
like
even
you
doing
alluded
it?
to. Yeah, it's
We
like
don't question.
it's not like it's even been around for hundreds of years. Like, even 100 years ago, people usually gave birth at, well, maybe not 100 years ago, but like 150 years ago, people just gave birth at home. And you might have had a traveling doctor maybe that would come like if you were having problems, but the women around you just knew, like you just had automatic doulas and midwives because they were more connected to what was happening, and it was more of a communal experience and a part of life. It wasn't this commercialized um Yeah,
medicalized event.
commercialized, medicalized. Yeah. Yeah, this industry. It wasn't an industry. It was, just it was a part of it was more just a part of life. Yeah.
Oh, definitely need to do a part two.
Yeah.
I am
Yes.
curious, did did this becoming a birth doula and all this beautiful work that you've done, did this happen after your first baby or did it happen after your second baby?
Yeah, good question. So it took me a while to feel like myself again. Like it was probably almost a year. And then an important part of my journey is when my first son was about 9 months old, he had just weaned from breastfeeding. And I had appendicitis and I had to have an emergency appendectomy. And that was another experience where they were not listening to me. They were not personalizing my care. They actually saw me and I wasn't a typical hot case. That's what the doctor told me for appendicitis. They actually made me pee in a cup because they thought I was drug seeking. They thought I was pregnant and didn't know it, like I had a molar pregnancy or, some kind of pregnancy complication. And I was like, I just had a baby 9 months ago. Like, I know, I would know if I was pregnant. Like, please. So, yeah, it's a funny little anecdote from that experience. They still had me pee in a cup and it sat there and they never even tested it because they did a CT scan and immediately my appendix lit up on the CT and they took me like right then and there. And that's a whole other conversation about my experience through that too. Like going with my intuition because I also like had to advocate for myself and how much pain I was in because my husband like was kind of rolling his eyes like, well, do you want me to take you to the emergency room? Like, what do you want me to do? Kind of thing. And then he he swallowed his words after we found out I had to have surgery. But but yeah, like just that, like being in tune with your body, like not just feeling your body and being able to connect with your body, but trusting your intuition and trusting that still voice inside you when you know something is wrong and that you need help, like listening to that. So I had that experience and then I had some complications and I had to be in the hospital for almost a week after that, which is not typical, especially for my age. At the time, I'm 40 now, and at the time I was 30. Yeah, I was 30. And so, and I will say that part of it was because I was an exhausted 9 months postpartum first time mom. And so once I was in the hospital, sleeping in a bed by myself and getting some really good pain medication. It was like I didn't want to come out of that. And I really, and I just wanted to rest. I really just needed rest. And it was like that trauma, that pain trauma that I experienced, it made me from the appendicitis. It was like the same level that I had with that birth experience. So it was almost like I was afraid to go back. I was afraid of that pain. I was afraid of coming back. And so yeah, so that was another big wake up call. And after that, I had a lot of problems with my digestion and again, I really dove into my physical self-care and I did this 30-day clean eating, like elimination diet. And that was actually so life-changing for me. And I'm so grateful for that time in my life because I probably wouldn't have done that like without that experience. It would probably not push me over the edge to really like clean up my diet, even though like I wasn't overweight. I wasn't looking to I wasn't looking to clean up my diet, but I was like in such like I just felt so bad physically after that. I was just like ready to try anything. So I did that. And then actually, what happened was it made me feel so good in so many different areas physically. And it also helped heal my PCOS, which is why I had infertility the first time getting pregnant. So this was about a year postpartum with my first son. And my cycles started to regulate. And then we kind of we weren't trying to have another baby, but we also weren't preventing. And I got pregnant that same year. So my sons are about 2 years apart. So that was kind of like that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
And then so it was much better with my second son, my pregnancy and the birth experience. It was still a fast labor, but being a second time mom, they listened to me a little more. And he was also another hospital birth. So it was like I had that. So the blinders were off in that experience, but I still didn't quite have, I didn't have a bad experience with my second son, but I wouldn't call it a fulfilling experience either. It was just more like we talked about that settling, like, oh, this is, hospital birth, epidural, like I'm good. I got my pain medication. I'm like, whatever, like I know what I'm doing with my breastfeeding. And he took really well to breastfeeding. And then, of course, he wouldn't take a bottle. So that's a whole other challenge, right?
Yes.
When we want to be away from our baby for a little while. Um, and so I was at this place in my life where I would just kind of felt like, I wouldn't say numb, but it was, again, it was just like this, like blah kind of place in my life where I was working part-time in interior design in my interior design career. And I was also working part-time in an MLM. And so like I kind of had my own business, but then, I have two little ones at home and it was like where like there's got to be something more. Like what is the more that I'm looking for? And then I found human design in late 2018. And I like to see it found me. And because I don't think anybody really like knows, like before you know about human design, you don't know what you don't know, right? So
Yeah.
it just kind of finds you. And um, I saw somebody on Instagram talking about it, another human design person. And she was talking about her undefined root and like the difference. And I'm just like, what in the world is she talking about? And I just kept watching her a little bit and I'm like, I've got to look into this. Like, what is this? So I looked it up and immediately when I saw my body graph, I was like, what is this? Like, every person, and that's the first thing I tell people when I get them to look up their design or if I show them their design in a reading. I'm like, okay, I know it's very overwhelming. There's a lot of numbers and lines and shapes and colors. Like, I get it. Like, I'm going to guide you through this. So just take a breath and we will get through this. But I was just like, what is this? And then I read about being a projector and I'm like, yes, this is all of that language. Like all of this I knew in myself. I recognized this in myself. I recognized how I operate. I felt it and I could see into into human behavior and how like other people are like what an unhealthy, undefined heart looks like and feels like in other people. And like all of this knowledge that I already had, this wisdom in myself, I was like, yes, this is the language. This is the system that I can communicate what I already know, like what I already intuitively know. And I just fell in love with it. And I went through all of the pre-professional courses at International Human Design School. That is the number one place I send people if you are interested in getting a real education in human design knowledge. But it was it's so nice. Like, whenever you find something new that just lights you up, it's like it's just so nice to be around other people and in community with other people who can speak your language and
Definitely.
and geek out with you, right? And human design is very much like that, where, you can geek out with all the jargon and the terms and everything, but it is so descriptive. If you're familiar with the language, it is the best way to be able to communicate that knowledge with other people. So yeah, so I dove all into that educational part of it and just immediately started using it practically with myself, my family, my clients, and just kind of went with from there. And I started doing human design readings, and I started creating my programs that I've already mentioned. And pretty early on in my human design education journey, I realized, oh my gosh, like this is why, even before I knew human design pregnancy, I was like, this is why I felt so connected when I was pregnant, because there was that literal conditioning. Like I knew that happened. Once I just having the general human design knowledge, I was like, this is why I felt that way. And then this is why I felt that way in postpartum. And all of my needs, it was just all of those pieces clicked into place for me. Like, this is why, this is what I could have done. Like, this is how I could have been supported. This is the perspective I could have had. All of those things. And then I started asking more questions about like, okay, well, how does it work in during pregnancy? Like what did Ra really say? Like, is there more pieces to this puzzle? And that's when I found Ra, the original messenger of the human design system. He did a one lecture about human design pregnancy, design of pregnancy, and that has literally been my Bible since then, for that part of the knowledge. And it's so interesting because I really feel that because of my unique experience and my journey with human design pregnancy, it's like I really feel called to be that messenger for human design pregnancy. And because a lot of it is so specific for me, because I saw all those pieces and I had all those feelings even before I have the system. And now that is my desire, is to build more of a framework for human design pregnancy, just like we have for the human design system in general, so that more women can use this. And my big vision is to create like a library, like this beautiful library that other women can come in and learn human design pregnancy and use it practically, not just practically, but spiritually. There's a lot of the knowledge where it's not just practical, like biologically what happens and physically, but like the spiritual, the mystical side of that. And like, just as an example, one of the things that I really want to bring forward is pregnancy themes, because at conception there is a theme that takes place depending on the moment of conception and the incarnation cross. And so that's like a whole area where women can really tune in with what that theme is for their pregnancy and have this connection, like, oh, okay, so what does that mean for me? And like, how does that interact with who I'm here to be, and like what this pregnancy is bringing for me and for my baby? And like, I hope that all makes sense. Like,
It does make
what
sense. Can you deepen a little bit when you say like a pregnancy theme, what that means?
yeah, so just like you have an incarnation cross theme in your personal design, that depends on the sun, the position of the sun, like exactly that moment and what it crosses with consciously and unconsciously in your design. And for the pregnancy theme, it's similar. So we use all of the incarnation cross themes. But so just as an example, like if you had an incarnation cross, like my personal incarnation cross is the right angle cross of explanation. So that is purpose fulfilled through the mind and structuring. It's a lot with the mind, but also with emotions as well. And so like supporting uh, humanity through that structure of the mind, like letting the mind have its own place while also supporting myself as an individual and being an example of that powerful um, emotional awareness as well, right? Like guiding principles and beliefs with that emotional drive. So like if that was if like let's just say that that was the moment of conception, also the same incarnation cross for your pregnancy, that would be the theme like for your pregnancy. So like, and that doesn't mean like for you personally or for your baby per se, like for their life, but for your actual pregnancy. So like how is your pregnancy contributing to that? Like, what are you feeling called to like study or like how is your mind like working right now? Like, or do you feel more connected to like your thoughts and like what you're thinking or so it's like it's almost like another design of itself and like how you can dive into interacting with that and engaging with that
Hmm.
in a in a in a in a metaphysical way.
Yes,
Does
yes.
that make
So,
sense?
yeah, so what comes through for me personally, I always feel like pregnancy is an amplification portal. So whenever I've been
Yeah.
pregnant, I always feel like there's an intensity that I need to lean into. And so I feel like this is kind of what you're leaning into as well in terms of your pregnancy human design. It's like we're meant to be focusing on certain things in every pregnancy is different, and we need to be focusing on what we feel called to focus on in that pregnancy because it's an amplification portal. So if we're pregnant and we're feeling called to learn more about human design randomly out of nowhere, it's like that's the time you actually really lean into diving into that. And then it's almost like the integration process is faster. Your ability to receive and download and understand the information is faster. So is that making
Yeah,
yes?
absolutely. And I love that what did you say? What kind of portal did you say?
Amplification portal.
Amplification portal. Yeah, I love that. That's exactly the label that I would use for it. It's like what is that amplification portal theme for this pregnancy? And it also brings that layer of how pregnancies are different. Like every biological mother or pregnant person like that has been pregnant multiple times, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like and we always everybody says, every baby's different, but every pregnancy is different. And that's because there's a different pregnancy theme there because of the time of conception. There is um, different conditioning during that pregnancy because you as the host, we call you're called a host as a
Yes.
pregnant person, which is kind of weird, like science fictiony, but
Yes,
that's
yes.
just what that's just you are a host. You're a host for new life. So um yeah, you are going through different planetary transits and you're always at a different moment in your life. There's a different pregnancy theme, like I said. The baby that you are pregnant with has a different design, and so then that's going to condition you differently. And then when your baby's born, there's like differences and it's all different and that's by design. Like That's the whole point of us being here, right? Is to
Yes.
differentiate and to have these like the human experience is so multifaceted and so so beautiful that way. It's a beautiful mosaic, right? Or prism that brings all these different um, facets of being into the world. Yeah.
I love this. I love this. It's like pregnancy has been desensitized, right? It's just like this thing, right? Well, it's so that the magic and like the divinity that comes through being pregnant, it's kind of lost, like, which frustrates me. And so it's kind of like you get pregnant and then you follow the process. And for most people, that's going through the medical system, going through the hospital, ticking all their boxes, which are very, very limited and not designed for every person. It's like really generalized. I really like to encourage women to seek care outside of the medical system. Even if they are wanting to be in the medical system, it's good to have someone like a doula or a midwife, someone who can actually bring it back to you. But I digress. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Now I've lost
actually
my.
say,
Yes, yes.
no, I just want to interject and say that people that come to me that say, well, I don't need a doula because I'm having a hospital birth, or they don't think that a doula would be beneficial. And actually, a hospital birth, that's when you really want to have a doula because they are going to fill in those gaps for you and be that neutral, grounding presence for you in the middle of that medical side, that clinical side, and be able, like I said, to bridge those gaps and to bring it back into this holistic focus so that you are sure that you have that mental, emotional, and spiritual health focus as well as the physical. So,
Physical.
yeah.
Yes,
If
yes.
you're having a hospital birth, you need a doula.
100%. I did have a doula for my first hospital birth, and I went private midwife with my second, and she came with me to the hospital when I had to go to the hospital. But 100% you need a doula or a midwife with you. Yes, yes. Um, and I love that human design in pregnancy. Yes, that's what I was saying. Sorry, I lost my. I got sidetracked because I got passionate again about talking about the medicalized system of pregnancy. Um, it's just like this, almost like a mundane process of like, oh, what are your symptoms? How are you feeling? How far along are you? Like, even when people are talking to you about your pregnancy, it's very generic. But we're missing this really potent, powerful amplification portal of what it is and what each pregnancy represents and what we're here to do, what we're here to like download and integrate and bring to the world. We're not just birthing a baby, we're birthing like a new paradigm, we're birthing new realities for ourselves, for our children, for the world. But that conversation never happens. Like no one talks about it like this, right? And I remember in my second pregnancy, I had so many downloads and I was like channeling and I was connecting and my first daughter was very grounding. She was a very grounding pregnancy, whereas my second daughter was a very amplified pregnancy. And so I was like my channel opened and connection with everything that's happening around me. It's so different, and being able to lean into both, being able to tap into human design in pregnancy would have like made those pregnancies fucking amazing. Like, can you even imagine? Like, I would be high on
Right.
what I was doing, like, because without knowing it, I was already leaning into the concept. But to then be able to have a conversation with you, and then you would take me through that human design pregnancy, like, can you even imagine what women would be birthing? Like, if we knew our power and our potency, that we're not just birthing a child. Sorry, I'm gonna let you talk because I'm just gonna get really, really, I'm really fired
No,
up.
I love it. I could listen to you go on and on. Yeah, it's like that power, right? It's that reclamation of power and seeing yourself as, again, part of creation. You're creating life. You're the host for life. That's a beautiful, powerful thing. nothing to take lightly. Now, it's your prerogative if you want to take it lightly. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there are, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't really care. Like, I just want to have, I just want to have my baby. That is your choice too. Like, it's not that it's better or like necessarily bad if you know, don't care to be so deeply connected. But for the women that are wanting more, like this is what my work, this is who I want to connect with. And it's like, yeah, there's even like even after a pregnancy theme, that's just the first piece. Like if you know your conception date or time, whether that's natural conception or assisted conception, if you know that exact time, we have the pregnancy theme. And then there's the whole first trimester. Basically, it's the first 88 days after conception is the first stage of human design pregnancy. And there are 10 stages within that happen as your baby's body is being built, as their vehicle is being built. And depending on your design, it always is built in these same channels configuration. And so you knowing your design as the mother, as the host, you can know how you're going to be conditioning because you're going to know what cosmic transits are happening through those 10 stages and what your design is contributing to that conditioning. So that's where we can get into the hardwired conditioning of your baby. And that is, again, a whole other conversation, but it's basically this conditioning that is hardwired, not on your baby's personality, their consciousness, but on their body, imprinted on their body. And so I like to think about it like, well, just to explain, first of all, conditioning, when we normally talk about conditioning, that is you, like after you're born, now, like you're being conditioned by the transits. We're conditioning each other, even though we're not in the physical aura space. We are still emitting our frequency, exchanging our frequency, and we're conditioning each other and feeding off of each other. And then and anybody that's in your aura space, so that's all conditioning, environmental relationship conditioning. But this hardwire, and that you can change, right? Like that you can decondition from, because you can put yourself in different environments. You can learn how to control that conditioning, how you are processing it through your body, through your openness. You can change your behaviors and have more self-acceptance, all those personal growth things that we do to decondition. But with the hardwired conditioning, baby's body just gets that. And so it's actually, again, it's not positive or negative, but we can, if we know that your conditioning grid as the mom, like what you are contributing and what the transits are contributing, then we can reduce that negative conditioning, just so to make sure that there's not a disharmony or a because what happens is it's not like a conscious conditioning where it affects their personality, but because it's imprinted on baby's body, then they, after they're born, they feel that like it's still there, but you can't change it because it's hardwired into them. It's not something that you can see on the body graph in someone's design, right? Um,
Are you able to
so
give an example of what a hardwired conditioning or condition is? Because it's not. I'm understanding the concept, but I can't like articulate it, or I can't. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the analogy that I like to use is like you have let's say you have vanilla ice cream, okay? And the vanilla ice cream is like that's like your design. Like let's say vanilla is generator type. And you can, like, normal conditioning is like putting sprinkles on that. So like that can make it better. Some people don't like sprinkles, like some people love sprinkles, and it's something that you can take off. It's a topping. So
Yes.
it changes the ice cream, and you can see it, and you can also put it on or take it off, and it doesn't permanently change the ice cream, right? It's still vanilla. But you can have it with sprinkles or not with sprinkles. But hardwired conditioning is like adding mint flavoring to that vanilla ice cream
Right.
so that it becomes it's something that is at a cellular level that you can't see it, right? You can't see that added flavoring, but it affects the taste of that vanilla ice cream. And it's not something, once it's on there, it can't be taken off. So it's always going to affect the expression. And that's how the hardwired conditioning works. So it's always going to be that cellular level of like, this is very like metaphysical
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
that we're going into, but it's literally hardwired in. It's not something that you can take off. So so what happens is sometimes if it's if it if it is a negative, if it's experienced as a negative conditioning during pregnancy, what happens is when baby's born, they are going to be electromagnetically pulled to filling that in themselves. And then that could be um, expressed through babies who are colicky or have behavioral problems when they're a little bit older, or like it's like a conditioning that they feel, but it's not something that you can talk them through or like give them therapy for. Like it's something that with awareness they might be able to understand it, like at the proper time when they are old enough, mature enough, like that they can understand, like, okay, this is what you're feeling and this is how to move through that and not and use what how you are actually designed. So like using your strategy and your authority, your actual design, like what is consistent for you, and not letting yourself be moved away from your true self into that not self from that hardwired conditioning. Does that make sense?
It makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it to land in my head, and is it like, so if I'm pregnant and I don't know if this is correct, but let's just say, say I'm like highly stressed, like cortisols are like off the charts.
Mhm.
Is it like a physical, like because I'm so stressed throughout the pregnancy and there's like a lot of trauma and like PTSD occurring during my pregnancy, those stress hormones impact, how my baby responds to stress once they're in the womb, but once they're out of the womb. Is that what you mean by like a hardwired conditioning? Or is it
Yes. Yeah,
more metaphysical?
that specific example is a possibility, yes, because there are channels that a couple of the channels play into that like nervous system formation and immune system from the spleen to the root center. And so, like, just as a first example, one of the first channels that are formed in baby is the channel of structuring. And that's from the ajna to the throat center. And this is an acoustic type channel. So, as it's being formed, it is sensitive to frequency through acoustic sound. And so and that is in like very early on in your pregnancy, like the first couple weeks so this is really like most people are already past this stage and don't even know they're pregnant. Like they might be just finding out they're pregnant after this channel has formed. But so what happens is when this channel is forming, if there's a lot of negative frequency, like if you as the mother, I have this channel defined, so actually that protects my babies, So there's not like an opportunity for that openness to receive outside conditioning that's going to like hardwire baby. Um, and again, this is a lot of this knowledge is like experimental. So like we don't have all the data to like really know how it actually works. So that's another reason why I am so passionate about getting the knowledge to as many women as possible so that you can experiment with it and be like, yeah, this is what I experienced, or no, it actually felt like this, or no, this is how like my baby, like this is what happened with this specific pregnancy or baby, things like that. So keep that in mind too as we're talking about this. But if you are like, let's just say you are somebody who works in a really loud environment, like, and you have to wear like ear protection or something. If you're pregnant and at this early stage, again, you're not going to be like wearing anything to like protect your baby for that, but it's an acoustical frequency. So if there's like jarring frequency that creates resistance in that channel, it can create resistance for when the baby is imprinted at the design date and then the birth time as well. And so there could be this sensitivity that they develop, like even if they are born with that defined channel of structuring, they might have a really low tolerance for loud sounds, or they might it might even be like a light thing. People babies that are completely open, like head and ajna,
Yep.
they and I experienced this with both of my sons. They're both open in their mind centers. They are very light sensitive and very noise sensitive too. When they were little, like they could never go into a bathroom with a hand dryer, like the electrical hand
Yes.
dryers that are really loud. Yeah. And so and that's something that I experienced even with me having that channel defined naturally, because they have that open themselves, that didn't protect them once they were outside of me. So that's not really the hardwired conditioning, but that's how it works
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
It is
Okay.
making more sense. Yes. That
Okay.
example did help solidify it. And then it begs to like human design in pregnancy is like very multifaceted and very layered. And like I can understand why you're like all in on piecing it all together. And I almost feel like I want to find someone who is like maybe very early stages pregnant and just like doing a session. I want to witness a session and see what it's like to come together, because it's so fascinating. Like the wisdom, the details that you can bring in, and I'm sure it would come through in a way that wouldn't overwhelm the mother, because I know that you're very experienced at doing your readings, and so you would present it in a way that they can receive it and actually apply it and integrate it and do all the magic with it. But just like hearing you talk through that process, and I'm like, holy shit balls, this is fascinating. It's fascinating because you can even like reflect on it in hindsight, like, to understand what your little
Exactly.
kids are doing now. Why are they the way that they are?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that has
And
to do
then,
with, yeah,
yeah, and even generational trauma, like knowing if you know your mother's chart, then we can look at her conditioning grid and go back and trace that journey, like you said, and see, like, oh, like I was exposed to this kind of hardwired conditioning, or, all those little pieces, they like click into place when you have that awareness.
yes, I love this. This is amazing. Is this something that you are offering to women, or it's coming together? It's in the process.
Yes. So it is something that I work through in Crown of Light with clients. That is a one-to-one space. So depending on where you are in your pregnancy journey, we can go through all of those pieces. We can look at it retroactively, like you just alluded to. Even women who are several years postpartum, I have worked with before because they're still feeling, that postpartum drag where it's like they can't quite figure out the energetics for themselves and for their kiddo and how that all works together. And so, yeah, it's really, again, it comes back to personalization. Like, mm, that's always my goal, is meeting you wherever you are and using and engaging with the knowledge in the best way for you. So whether that is the more spiritual or the more physical, like some people are really interested in all the biological correlation and all of that. So it's just, again, meeting you where you are, knowing that wherever you are and whatever is aligned for you is your journey, and supporting you through that how how you have that authentic, that magical, that fulfilling experience instead of just settling and moving, getting through it.
Yeah, accepting it as standard practice.
Yeah. Yeah. No
I love
standard around here. No basic around here.
No, I don't do basic, and I love that you don't do basic either. For a woman who is currently pregnant, or maybe even just like recently had a baby, is there something that they could look into to like give them a little bit of insight into, their babies or themselves or their pregnancy, like to help them like deepen their pregnancy experience?
Mhm. Yeah, well, if you are currently pregnant, I would definitely take and you know your conception time. I would definitely look at your pregnancy theme, first of all, because that can give you some great insight into how to connect with this pregnancy as that amplification portal, and to see it as such a gift in and of itself, and have a way to connect with your baby and yourself in a way that's beyond just, oh, I'm pregnant and now my baby's the size of a apricot, or like,
Yeah, yeah,
again, that biological part. Like, if the biological part excites you, then um reach out to me, because then we can like geek out about, wherever you are in your pregnancy. But knowing that conception theme and being able, that pregnancy theme can really help you deepen there. Um, and then if you have had your baby already, I would really take a look at what your combined, your relationship chart looks like with just your baby's design. So taking your chart, your design yourself as the mom, and then taking just the design side of your baby's chart and putting that together, um, and seeing what the energy was like, because that is going to give you some great insight into how that conditioning was once your baby's design was imprinted, like their consciousness was in their body and they were, so part of their design was conditioning you, and that's that quantum relationship of your energies. Because sometimes, like, when you're still pregnant, your baby might be a reflector, or your baby might be a generator. And then because of the way that they are, like, you might create a generator, like a projector and a reflector you might create a generator energy. And then knowing the difference there and how, oh, so like I'm trying, like, if that's the case, if you created like a generator energy during that last trimester of pregnancy, and that's because that's 88 degrees before birth, right? When the design date takes place. If you see that, then now your baby is a different type than, you were that they were before, and you're being conditioned in a different way, it's like, oh, well, I don't need to attach to that generator, that sacral energy, because that's not like neither one of us are. Maybe your baby's a manifester now, or, whatever it is. Like letting go of that, like that permission slip to let that go and to know that that's actually not correct for you to continue to try to work from, and to coming back to what is really true for you and what is really true for your child, really seeing them and who they are, um, is so important. Seeing them in their holistic design and not just what you felt when you were pregnant. Yeah.
Mm, I love this. Is there a is there somewhere they can go to do this, or is this something that needs to be done with someone like yourself?
Yeah, so what you can do there, you can't really do a relationship chart like with software for this. Like, just you can put two charts together, but it's going to take, both sides. So both the conscious and unconscious side for each chart.
Yep.
So I honestly just love to have a paper chart of you as the mother, like your normal chart, and then just take a highlighter or a colored pencil or a marker and just pick one color that's different from your chart and literally draw in all the gates that are defined on the design side of your baby, and then see what, you know, if there are extra centers that are defined, you can highlight those, and just it's like a little activity, right? Like a
Yeah.
physical activity that helps you tune in, and you might even find that, oh, I do have that gate defined. Like, you wouldn't believe how many people don't even know visually their chart. Like, and that's such an important piece to have just for yourself, like to know what your chart looks like, because that having it visually in your mind or like on paper can help so much with embodying it, because it's like you make that conceptual and physical, like energetic connection there. So but yeah, and it's something, it is kind of fun, like to just like see your chart printed and to use something to make pretty colors. And I mean, at least
Yeah,
I like
yes.
to think of it that way, as
And
like
help deepen
a
your
little,
understanding of yourself and your
yeah,
baby and the
yeah,
relationship
yeah,
between.
yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah, that's something that I would love to develop in the near future, is software that actually does the conditioning grid and does um, mother, host, baby, like charts and different combinations, so that, we don't have to do it on paper. But yeah, maybe AI can help with that. Maybe that'll be a good job for AI.
Definitely.
I'm not a big AI person. I don't use it often, but I feel like that would be a good job for AI to help us with.
Absolutely. And when you do develop this software, then we should have another call.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be amazing. Oh, you are a fascinating woman. You have so many fascinating skills, wisdom, knowledge to contribute to every single woman, every single mother. I love the medicine that you bring. Thank you so much for sharing all of it. And I feel like we touched on a lot, and there's so many spaces where I want to deepen the conversation, but we would probably be here for 8 hours and then need to still do another call. So we're going to have to be okay with touching on things, but thank you so much for deepening um, your your experience, your wisdom with us all, and like sharing this fresh new perspective. I can't wait. I cannot wait for women to receive this. Are there any final words, or is there something you feel called to share before we close out the call?
Well, first of all, thank you. It was my pleasure to speak on all these different areas of motherhood and pregnancy, birth, um, and to reiterate the magic that's available, and not and not magic just like a throwaway term. Like it is magic. And that's I think what I want to leave with everyone who is listening. You are a part of creation and you have a divine purpose, and it's all there for you to step into, and all it takes is your strength and your wisdom to lead that powerful, fulfilling, magical life.
I love it. I've been saying that a lot in this call. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Every woman that listens to this is going to be activated in ways that she doesn't even understand yet. And so I am going to encourage every woman to explore Libby's world, and we'll drop all your links in the show notes as well. Because you are so multifaceted, and you're very much for the woman. So I'm very much for you. So thank you so much for being on the call. And yeah, I can't wait for everyone to proceed.
Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you for being here, gorgeous woman, for rising with us, remembering with us, and refusing to shrink inside a world that benefits from your silence. If this episode moved you, cracked you open, or reminded you of who the hell you are becoming, share it with a woman who is ready to rise too. I want to invite you to follow, subscribe, and leave a rating so this message becomes too loud, too wild, and too undeniable to be ignored. The movement grows because of women like you. Women who choose truth over comfort, liberation over obedience, and voice over disappearance. You can connect with me, Samantha Sanford, at Rebel Matriarch, and all links to our guest are in the show notes below. Until next time, stay rooted, stay rebellious, and remember, the world changes when women refuse to disappear.